We begin tonight with breaking news. Trump campaign officials say that the former president is, quote, safe following gunshots in his vicinity. Good evening and thanks for joining us for News Channel 9 at 11. I'm Maggie Weaver. Now, this is a live look in West Palm Beach tonight. That's after an assassination attempt at the Trump's International Golf Club there, where the former president was golfing earlier today. Now, take a look at this map here on your screen. CNN reports that Trump was between the 5th and 6th holes when Secret Service agents opened fire after they saw a person with a gun around 300 to 500 yards away. Now, next we have traffic camera footage from I-95. You can see that stopped traffic there. Authorities say that the person fled the scene in an SUV. You can see those officers there on scene. And that's as Martin County Sheriff's Office says that they took a suspect into custody that is, quote, believed to be connected to the incident.
The suspect's demeanor I would describe as having a relatively calm, flat, affected, was not displaying a lot of emotion, never asked what is this about. Obviously, law enforcement with long rifles, blue lights, a lot going on, never questioned it.
Officials also report that an AK-47 style rifle was recovered from the scene. Now, this is a photo shared by the Martin County Sheriff's Office. You can see a rifle and a backpack there against that fence.
It was 1 or 2 holes behind. That because the bubble moves through the golf course, so our agents will get there first, clear it. He noticed that the rifle was pointed out. Our agents engaged.
CNN cites 3 law enforcement sources saying that the person in custody is Ryan Wesley Routh. Now, as you just heard, we still do not know if the suspect fired shots. Now, we do have another photo here from Martin County Sheriff's Office. Deputies say that a witness saw the suspect run from the bushes and took this picture of his vehicle. The National Desk's Christine Frizzell has more details about what happened and the suspect.
Another attempt on Donald Trump's life foiled after a stunning chain of events in Palm Beach County, Florida. That includes an adept Secret Service officer just ahead of him at the Trump International Golf Course.
He was able to spot this rifle barrel sticking out of the fence and immediately engage that individual, at which time the individual took off.
Sheriff Rick Bradshaw says he left behind 2 backpacks with ceramic tile, a GoPro video camera, and an AK-47. Which had a scope, praising a witness who saw the suspect and took a photo of his car and his tag. The suspect, identified as 58-year-old Ryan Wesley Routh, soon pulled over and taken into custody. Investigators now scouring his social media to determine a motive. Routh had recently been living in Hawaii and had multiple prior arrests. In a campaign email, Trump writing, "My resolve is only stronger after another attempt on my life. I will never slow down. I will never give up." Shock still settling in that the suspect was able to get as close as he did, between 300 and 500 yards from the former president.
The golf course is surrounded by shrubbery, so when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right, and at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course surrounded. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
The threat level is high. We have increased the amount of assets that we've supported, so we live in danger times.
The incident just about 2 months after a gunman was able to get way too close to Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The bullet grazing Trump's ear, another killing a man at the rally. An incident critics say never should have happened.
That falls to negligence, incompetence, being unmotivated, unwilling to do the job on a Saturday morning, a hot Saturday morning in July. The very basics of what the Secret Service needed to cover simply wasn't done.
The analysis from this apparent assassination attempt is so far largely positive of the Secret Service. That stands in sharp contrast to the security lapses that plagued the Butler, Pennsylvania incident. A report on that is due out in the coming days. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Authorities say that the suspect has not commented or made any statements about what happened or why. Of course, we are waiting to find out what charges Routh will face. He's expected to appear in court Monday morning. Now, Tennessee Congressman Chuck Fleischmann responded to the events through a statement on X saying, quote, "We thank God President Trump was not harmed." Now, he also thanked law enforcement for their swift response to the scene. I met with Congressman Fleischmann earlier this evening for an exclusive interview in our newsroom to talk about this attempted assassination.
This is the second time something like this has happened and was allowed to happen. This street allegedly was left unguarded. Early reports indicate that it's because he was given not a full detail, but a former president's detail. There's a qualitative and a quantitative difference to that. If he had been a sitting president, this would have never happened. I think we as Americans, not just as Republicans, Independents, or Democrats, as Americans, have to call for an end to all political violence.
The congressman says that he believes, quote, "This is not a gun thing, this is an evil thing," end quote. He also says that he continues to worry about former President Trump's safety.